A warm welcome back to GlobeTrotting. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Today, the Airbus A350 family is championed as an industry leader for wide-body flying. From the A350-900 upwards to the A350-1000, each variant has a purpose in the airline that chooses to fly its fleet. Concepts, however, such as the A350-2000 or A350 Stretch, have also presented opportunities for Airbus to pounce on demand across the industry for efficient, high-capacity flying. In the family, however, there was one firm variant and one unreleased in that -2000 looked into to really push the boundaries of what could be achieved with two engines in a high-capacity environment. What are the similarities, therefore, between the -1000 and the never-launched -2000 model? Why did ultimately one not proceed, and how did this ultimately shape Airbus into how we see it today? First of all, the A350-1000. It remains a cornerstone of many airline fleets, whose purpose is to meet high-capacity routes across a long-haul journey, all with high levels of efficiency as well. With seating for approximately 350 to 410 passengers in a typical 3-class layout and a range of 8,700 nautical miles, the -1000 built upon older generation types such as the 340 and aimed to be a key successor, while also providing a solution to what are now older 777 variants. Upon launch, Airbus ensured that the A350-1000 would feature updated technology. This included engines. We know that composite materials was a big part of the A350's birth, and so much more, all trying to provide a worthy upgrade to airlines that would look to purchase it compared to old gen types. Since entering service, Qatar Airways, British Airways and Cathay Pacific have adopted the aircraft and used it for flagship services. Therefore, the A350-1000 can be seen across many international hubs and will fly daily with substantial fuel savings. It's firmly established itself as a mainstay of the Airbus portfolio. But is there a way to elevate the program further? That is the major question. Well, first, in contrast, the A350-2000 was ultimately an unrealized concept that aimed to push the boundaries of the A350 family to a previously unseen level, even one up on the -1000 model. It was envisaged as a stretch that looked to seat well over 400 passengers, and if not exceed it, to the capabilities seen on the 777-9, a competitor aircraft at Boeing. The -2000 would have an even further extended fuselage to accommodate additional passengers, while trying to maintain similar range capabilities to the -1000 model. Modifications would have to take place, including a strengthened landing gear, amid other improvements, to make sure that the aircraft was fit to fly. However, those modifications could only be so much without implementing new engines or overhauled wings, and seeing costs balloon over time. The target market for a possible or even high-capacity variant of the 350 was something that certainly presented challenges. It was possibly seen as a solution for more of your dense long-haul routes, particularly maybe in markets originating from the Middle East, or at least flying towards here. Furthermore, the aircraft could have served as an ideal replacement for airlines operating high-capacity quad-engine planes, which have arguably seen these customers struggle to find an optimal replacement and more trying to find ways to make do. From a specification standpoint, it's key to examine the two aircraft. The A350-2000, in essence, and especially if we just look at the numerical value, would have increased the capacity over the -1000 model. The fuselage stretch would have allowed airlines to add either more economy or more premium economy seating. The potential positive knock-on ramifications of increased revenue per flight would have been quite large, depending on how said airlines would have looked to configure the aircraft. However, the increased size of the A350-2000 did certainly come with its trade-offs, including a higher maximum takeoff weight, MTOW, which would lead to greater fuel consumption. Purely focusing on simplicity, while the A350-1000's existing capabilities were already well aligned with what many airlines were requiring in the market, it is more than capable of serving long-haul routes. In contrast, the A350-2000 did pose the risk of overlapping what we had already seen in the -1000 model, and maybe complicating matters more than was needed. Why was an A350-2000 never released? As we know, it didn't progress beyond initial studies, and several factors contributed to its lack of development. And while there seemed to be prospective internal interest, it just never proceeded. First and foremost, market demand for ultra-large aircraft has shrunk even more, with a focus on efficiency over large planes. The rise of point-to-point travel, enabled by smaller and efficient widebodies, has ultimately reduced the need for planes such as the A380 and 747, all the while also seeing airlines look to evolve their route network and not just strictly focus on one hub. Moreover, the A350-1000, which was already existing, was just deemed the optimal endpoint for the widebody family, as the plane maker confirmed on several occasions themselves. This variant's capacity and range was really the perfect balance that Airbus had been striving for when they were looking to develop the A350 program. Developing the -2000 is something that would have also required substantial investment in terms of time, resources, and funds. Modifications such as I touched on the gears, engines, revised cockpit design, and more would not have come cheap. While it would not have been the cost of, say, a clean sheet, it still would have been costly. Airbus would have needed to know that it would have made a substantial amount of return, and as I've touched on a couple of occasions now, there were very much the risk of these two variants that I'm talking about today overlapping so much that one would negate the other, and performance would wane in one. And the thing is, there was no guarantee of a firm market for such a plane. Investing all the funds would be pretty risky. Given these risks, Airbus decided to prioritize the continued production of aircraft types such as the A350-1000 and, where possible, meet emerging demand in a different means. This is certainly seen through ultra-long-haul capabilities introduced on the A350-1000 through Qantas's very own Project Sunrise ambitions. The decision, however, to forego the A350-2000 continues to highlight that there is an importance internally at Airbus to make sure that every product they release aligns with a market somewhere and is going to see a positive result. Airbus did not also want to overcomplicate matters. The A350 family has been a massive success. Adding to it in a negative manner would potentially have negative ramifications, and while an A350-2000 did hold some potential and interest, it just wouldn't have been the right fit. By refining the A350-900 and A350-1000, Airbus has actually tailored this program to solutions without needing to break the bank, and it's an approach that has all the while minimized risk. In many ways, the A350-1000 represents the culmination of Airbus's vision for the 350 program in a passenger sense. This variant's combination finds capacity and range all featuring, and the plane maker itself has confirmed has been a perfect platform for growth, again seen through the -1000 ULR. Airbus also avoided the downsides of over-diversification by not proceeding with the -2000 model. It's allowed itself to maintain a coherent widebody family that is most importantly reliable, and while there are obvious delays that we have been seeing in the last year for airlines attempting to acquire this family of aircraft, the delays certainly haven't ballooned out to, say, multiple years of waiting. And on top of that, if you're adding new aircraft to the mix, well, you certainly do have some problems that may arise. Comparing the two aircraft in the -1000 and the prospective -2000 is fascinating. Do you believe there was a time in which this could have worked? I'd love to hear your opinion down below. Or do you feel that Airbus's evolution into the ULR model was really the best means to develop the program without needing to release, say, a stretched version or invest heavily in something totally different? Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Take care, do be safe, and I'll see you in a couple of days, right back on GlobeTrotting.